Hello and good day everyone. By the way, I am Mayan Sarol from ESL English and with my partner Miss Jessa Pehaner, and our report will talk about the Magna Carta for Public School Teachers that was put into law in June 18, 1966. And this act, Republic Act, is composed of 35 sections, and I will be discussing or explaining to you the first 18 sections, and my partner will continue the rest of the sections later on. So to start with, let us have the declaration of policy, or the section 1 of this act. Declaration of policy: it is hereby declared to be the policy of this act to promote and improve the social and economic status of public school teachers, their living and working conditions, their terms of employment and career prospects, in order that they may compare favorably with existing opportunities in other walks of life, attract and retain in the teaching profession more people with the proper qualifications, it being recognized that advanced education depends on the qualifications and ability of the teaching staff, and that education is an essential factor in the economic growth of the nation as a productive investment of vital importance. So, directly saying, the section 1 of this act talks about the purposes of this Magna Carta. Since we know that this act was created to protect and safeguard the rights of the public school teachers. So its purpose, one of the purpose, is to improve the social and economic status of the teaching profession, because for the past few years the economic status of being a teacher is low. Like they will say, you are just a teacher lang ka. So there is the respect, the perceptions of the people for the teachers are just normal lang. So they don't see us professionally, or mas naa sila'y respects to other professions than the teachers, especially public school teachers. And also the living and working conditions of the teachers are not that good at that time. And also this section talks about to ensure the teaching to be comparable to other professions. So since we know that there is no inferior profession, right? So we cannot say that a doctor, a nurse, a lawyer is much better than being a teacher, because all of these professions are the same. Yes. And also, this section talks about ensuring that the teaching profession can attract and retain qualified teachers. So as you can observe, most of the students that are enrolling in the education or becoming a teacher someday are those students who excel that much, or mga bright, mga magagaling na mga estudyante who are usually enrolling themselves in education or in the teaching profession. But the sad reality is that in the Philippines, the salary for teachers is low and not very justifiable sa mga works na ginagawa ng isang teachers, diba? So most probably the teachers that are very good teachers, the high quality teaching skills that a teacher can have, so diba, most of those teachers will transfer from being a teacher to becoming becoming a BFP, police, and other more professions that is having a high salary than the teaching profession. So that's the section 1 of this policy. So it ensures the economic and social status of the teachers for us to not be little in the society or in the field. Now let's talk about the section 2 of this act, or the title definition. So this act shall be known as the Magna Carta for Public School Teachers, and shall apply to all public school teachers except those in the professorial staff or state colleges and universities. So as used in this act, the term teacher shall mean all the person engaged in classroom teaching in any level of instruction on a full-time basis, including guidance counselors, school librarians, industrial arts or vocational instructors, and all other persons performing supervisory and or administrative functions in all schools, colleges, and universities operated by the government or its political subdivisions, but shall not include school nurses, school physicians, school dentists, and other school employees. So briefly saying, the section 2 of this act talks about the people that are covered by this act. So that's it. And the people that are not covered. So as mentioned in this section, those who are employees of the school are not included by this act. Only those who are functioning administrators, even the school heads, the principal is covered. Everyone who is engaged in the classroom teaching and instruction. So that's the section 2 of the Magna Carta for public school teachers. Now we'll move to the section 3 of this act, the recruitment and qualification. So this belongs to Article 2, recruitment and career. So recruitment policy with respect to the selection and appointment of teachers shall be clearly defined by the Department of Education, provided, however, that effective upon the approval of this act, the following shall constitute the minimum educational qualifications for teacher applicants. Firstly, letter A, for teachers in the kindergarten and elementary grades, bachelor's degree in elementary education, or the BSEE or the BSEED. So that should be the qualification of the teachers that could teach in the kindergarten and elementary grade. So that should be the bachelor's degree that you can have in college before applying as a teacher. B, for teachers of the secondary schools, bachelor's degree in education or its equivalent with a major and a minor, or a bachelor's degree in arts or science with at least 18 professional units and education. So you can teach in secondary education when you enroll in yourself in BSEd or Bachelor in Secondary Education with your corresponding major, and also with at least 18 units in education, professional units. And letter C, for teachers of secondary, vocational, and 2 years technical courses, bachelor's degree in the field of specialization with at least 18 personal units and education. So it's just the same with the secondary, vocational, and 2 years technical courses that you can teach. And lastly, for teachers of courses on the collegiate level, other than vocational, master's degree with a specific area of specialization. So very clear, no, that when you apply in colleges, state universities, you must have a master's degree so that they could hire you. Actually, it is not very needed or compulsory that you have a master's degree, but having a master's degree is a plus point to immediately have a job or have a slot there in the university or any state college that you will apply as a teacher. Provided further that in the absence of applicants who possess the minimum educational qualifications as herein above provided, the school superintendent may appoint under a temporary status applicants who do not meet the minimum qualifications, provided further that should teacher applicants, whether they possess the minimum educational qualifications or not, be required to take competitive examinations, preference in making appointments shall be in the order of their respective ranks in the said competitive examinations, and provided finally that the results of the examinations shall be made public and every applicant shall be furnished with his score and ranked in the said examination. So here, additionally, this section 3 talks about the school teachers that the principal would appoint if there is no other teacher would teach in the subject, especially when the teacher is not yet passed in the LET exam, and then the principal would appoint his or her to teach this certain subject in that school but have no license. It is just acceptable, but limited lang siya for span of time that you can teach, but you are not allowed to teach unless you can pass the LET exam. You cannot be a regular teacher of the said school or university. So that's the section 3 of this act. Now we'll have the section 4 of this act, which is the probationary period. When recruitment takes place after adequate training and professional preparation in any school recognized by the government, no probationary period preceding regular appointment shall be imposed if the teacher possesses the appropriate civil service eligibility, provided, however, that where, due to the exigencies of the service, it is necessary to employ as teacher a person who possesses the minimum educational qualifications herein above set forth but lacks the appropriate civil service eligibility, such person shall be appointed on a provisional status and shall undergo a period of probation for not less than 1 year from and after the date of his provisional appointment. So, briefly speaking, the section for the probationary period is, accordingly, there are 2 appointments in this Magna Carta for public school teachers: the regular appointment and the provisional appointment. So you can be a regular teacher of the said school if you possesses the appropriate civil service eligibility. But however, if you do not have that civil service eligibility, you can still teach, provided that you have the minimum qualifications that they are searching for or they are hiring. So, but there is only 1 year from and after the date of provisional appointment that you should undergo a period of probation. Okay, so that's the section 4 of this act. Now let's move on to section 5, the tenure of office stability, unemployment, and security of tenure shall be assured the teachers as provided under existing laws, subject to the provisions of section 3 hereof. Teachers appointed on a provisional status for lack of necessary civil service eligibility shall be extended permanent appointment for the position he is holding after rendered at least 10 years of continuous, efficient, and faithful service in such position. So that's the section 5 of this act. And to go on with section 6, it is the consent for transportation expenses, except for costs and as herein otherwise provided. No teacher shall be transferred without consent from one station to another. So that is prohibited if you have no consent or you are not allowed. Okay, right. So where the exigencies of the service require the transfer of a teacher from one station to another, such transfer may be effected by the school superintendent, who shall previously notify the teacher concerned of the transfer and the reason or reasons thereof. So you cannot just transfer from one school to another school gradually. So you have to say your reasons, why and how and when and where will you transfer. You should let your superintendent in the previous school know about your reasons of transferring. Yes. If the teacher believes there is no justification for the transfer, he may appeal his case to the director of public schools or the director of vocational education. As the case may be pending his appeal and the decision thereon, his transfer shall be held in abeyance, provided, however, that no transfers whatever shall be made 3 months before any local or national election. So that's the rule, that's the policy of transferring from one school to another. So that's the section 6 of this act. Now we'll have the section 7, which is the Code of Professional Conduct for Teachers. Within 6 months from the approval of this act, the Secretary of Education shall formulate and prepare a code of professional conduct for public school teachers. A copy of the code shall be furnished each teacher, provided, however, that where this is not possible by reason of inadequate fiscal resources of the Department of Education, at least 3 copies of the same code shall be deposited with the office of the school principal or head teacher, where they may be accessible for use by the teachers. So that's Section 7. Section 8, Safeguards in Disciplinary Procedure. Every teacher shall enjoy equitable safeguards at each stage of any disciplinary procedure, and shall have, first, the right to be informed in writing of the charges. So the teachers have the right to be informed in anything that is happening in the school, and the right, letter B, the right to full access to the evidence of the case, and C, the right to defend himself and to be defended by a representative of his choice, and or by his organization, adequate time being given to the teacher for the preparation of his defense, and lastly, the right to appeal to clearly designated authorities. No publicity shall be given to any disciplinary action being taken against a teacher during the pendency of his case. So that's the rule, that the teachers are covered by this rule when it comes to having a case or any problems or any circumstances that will be faced by the teacher himself. Now, the Section 9 of this act is the administrative charges. Administrative charges against a teacher shall be heard initially by a committee composed of the corresponding school superintendent of the division or a duly authorized representative who should have at least the rank of a division supervisor where the teacher belongs, a chairman, a representative of the local, or in its absence, any existing provincial or national teachers organization, and a supervisor of the division, the last two to be designated by the director of public schools. The committee shall submit its findings and recommendations to the director of the public schools within 30 days from the termination of the hearings, provided, however, that where the school superintendent is the complainant or an interested party, all the members of the committee shall be appointed by the Secretary of Education. So here in the Section 9 of this Act, it is hereby stated that when there are charges that are accused to a certain teacher in a school, he or she is not allowed to settle the arguments or the case by himself, but kailangan niya na isubmit ito sa mga nakakataas, or the superintendent, the principal, or the secretary of the education if needed, because he is not allowed to settle it, because there may be some cases that it will be unfair for both parties. So here stated in Section 9, the settling of the arguments or the charges that is accused to the teacher should be in a proper way of settlement. So it should undergo under the bigger positions or the higher rank, the person who have the people who are in a higher rank of position in the department or in the field, in the working field of as a teacher. So that's covered in the Section 9 of this Act. The Section 10 is all about the discrimination. So here says no discrimination. There shall be no discrimination whatsoever in entrance to the teaching profession or during its exercise, or in the termination of services based on other than professional consideration. So even if you are a supervisor, you are a principal of that certain school, you have no right to discriminate any teacher that are about to enter the teaching profession or already a teacher. There is no consideration here of being discriminated, because that's another matter. So as teachers, we prohibit discrimination and stereotyping in the field. So that's covered in the Section 10. Section 11 also talks about the married teachers, the rights of a married teachers. So whenever possible, the proper authorities shall take all steps to enable married couples, both of whom are public school teachers, to be employed in the same locality. So I think it is visible nowadays, or even in the past years, that you have encountered married teachers who are working in the same school, in the same locality, because that is the purpose of Magna Carta. That is also one of the purposes of Magna Carta for being born or created or crafted, to enable married couples to work or to enjoy or to be employed in the same school, in the same locality. So it's their right. Even they want to employ or deploy, as long as they are together, so it's their choice, and they are given the right for that. So that's the section 11. Section 12, academic freedom. Teachers shall enjoy academic freedom in the discharge of their professional duties, particularly with regard to teaching and classroom methods. So here in academic freedom, teachers are free to research about the academic methods that they are about to use for them to be able to impart the knowledge to the students easier and effectively. So it's the freedom of the teacher to be finding ways, no, on how to create strategies, to research strategies that they can use effectively in teaching the students. So that's under section 12. Now we are in the article 3 of this act, the hours of work and remuneration. So section 13 says the teaching hours. Okay. Any teacher engaged in actual classroom instructions shall not be required to render more than 6 hours of actual classroom teaching a day, which shall be so scheduled as to give him time for the preparation and correction of exercises and other work incidental to his normal teaching duties, provided, however, that where the exigencies of the services so require, any teacher may be required to render more than 6 hours, but not exceeding 8 hours, of the service of actual classroom teaching a day upon a payment of additional compensation at the same rate as his regular remuneration, plus at least 25% of his basic pay. So here, stated in section 13 that the teacher is required to work only 6 hours a day, but it is not prohibited that a teacher will extend the hours of working. They can work or active working, so in a classroom setting, so they can exceed that 6 hours, but only up to 8 hours. And also the payment for that is there is an additional compensation for that. So it's 25% of his from the teacher's basic pay. So if you are a teacher 1, so your basic pay is this much, so you will have additional 25% of that basic pay for the exceeding hours of active teaching in school. So that's stated in section 13. Now here in section 14, the additional compensation, notwithstanding and any provision of existing law to the contrary, co-curricular and out-of-school activities and any other activities outside of what is defined as the normal duties of any teacher shall be paid an additional compensation of at least 25% of his regular remuneration after the teacher has completed at least 6 hours of actual classroom teaching a day. In case of other teachers or school officials not engaged in actual classroom instruction, any work performed in excess of 8 hours a day shall be paid an additional compensation of at least 25% of their regular remuneration. The agencies utilizing the services of teachers shall pay the additional compensation required under this section. Additional authorities shall refuse to allow the rendition of services of teachers for other government agencies without the assurance that the teachers shall be paid the remuneration provided for under this section. So the section 14 of this Republic Act is about the additional compensation of extra services of teachers exceeding the required 6 hours of working inside the classroom. Also, additionally, teachers are allowed to work even outside the school premises and exceeding that certain hours of requirement for the teaching proper in a school setting, but with the condition that the additional payment for that is the 24% of the basic pay of the teacher. So that's under section 14. Now, section 15 is the criteria for salaries. Teachers' salaries shall correspond to the following criteria. A. They shall compare favorably with those paid in other occupations requiring equivalent or similar qualifications, training, and abilities. So as we all know, all the work professions have exerted, teachers, any other professions, and any other work in the field of professionalism have exerted the same efforts, have exerted the same number of hours of working in a day. So that means that the salary for teachers should be comparable in a favorable way, because each profession is the same in their working field or working experiences inside a school office hours. So that's the letter A criteria. B. They shall be such as to ensure teachers a reasonable standard of life for themselves and their families. And letter C. They shall be properly graded so as to recognize the fact that certain positions require higher qualifications and greater responsibility than others, provided, however, that the general salary scale shall be such that the relation between the lowest and highest salaries paid in the profession will be of reasonable order. Narrowing of the salary scale shall be achieved by raising the lower end of the salary scales relative to the upper end. So that's section 15. Now, section 16 is about the salary scale. So actually, section 16 and 17 are much of related to each other, because salary scale and equality in salary scale is the section 17. Now let's talk about the section 16. Salary scales of teachers shall provide for a gradual progression from a minimum to a maximum salary by means of regular increments granted automatically after the 3 years, provided that the efficiency rating of the teacher concerned is at least satisfactory. The progression from the minimum to the maximum of the salary scale shall not extend over a period of 10 years. So, as we all know, a teacher that is newly employed in a certain school will have her difficulties or his difficulties in teaching, because it's probably her or his or her first time. But as the time goes by, especially when years goes by, I believe that teachers improve. Teachers become masters, and that's the time they will be promoted. And also, when you are promoted as a teacher from teacher 3 to teacher 1, your salary will also increase. So that's stated here in section 16. The last section for my part is the section 17, which is the equality in salary scales. The salary scales of teachers whose salaries are appropriated by a city, municipal district, or provincial government shall not be less than those provided for teachers of the national government. So, since we are talking here about the rights and the privileges for public school teachers. So, that does not mean that only those who are in the national government teachers will receive that specific amount of salary given to teachers, but also all the municipal district, provincial government, as long as it belongs to the government school or school. So that means that the salary there is equal. So no public school is having the greater amount of salary for teachers than of this school. So it should be equal. So that's all about my part, and my partner will continue it the section 18 up to 35. So thanks for watching.